Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The GameSmith, where if you remember from last episode, we turned these little plastic toys into statues. But today, we're going to be stepping our game up to create a more advanced version. So I've chosen this barbarian-looking figure from the True Legends Mythical Warriors playset, and I've primed it white. Next, I've chosen to use hobby cork as my basing material. I found these thin sheets of cork at my local dollar store. The cork is flexible and breakable, so I'll need to reinforce it. My typical method is to apply some water and PVA glue mixture, but I'm going to worry about that later on. I want to make this base fit the statue, but also be large enough so that the statue won't tip over at the table. I'll start by marking where my miniature will go on my base. Oops, I better remove that marker off my white base. No particular reason why, just my crafter OCD. Next, I want to break off chunks of cork and keep the fragments for later use. The cork is great for creating a rocky texture along its broken edges. Now we overlay our smaller base on top of our larger piece of cork in order to build up a terrace or step-like feature. While I'm shaping the cork to the size that I want, I keep all the fragments that I break off. I think I'll add one more layer to the bottom. I find it helpful to have a tray for all my cork fragments as I break them off in order to store them for projects later on. Next, we're going to glue our pieces together, and I'm going to use this product called Goop 2. This stuff will adhere almost any two objects together. It's really amazing. It will squish out the edges, so don't put too much on your base. I'll just remove the excess with an old paintbrush handle. Then I'll glue the layers together, paying attention to how I want them to fit together. We've attached our base to the foundation, and now we're going to use our little cork fragments to hide the base of our barbarian figure. We can put some goop on another cork fragment and then apply it to our model around the base of the figure. Don't worry about the goop going on too thick, because we're going to stick the cork fragments to it right away. So I'll zoom in here so you can see that I'm using the cork bits to camouflage the base of the figure. Next, I have some black acrylic hobby paint and some matte Mod Podge that I'm going to mix together 50-50 instead of that water PVA mixture that I showed earlier. For this build, the Mod Podge mixture will work much better to reinforce the edges of the crumbly cork. To make sure that the base completely dries, I'm going to attach this candy tube to my work surface. And then I'll put the figure inside the tube so that the glue paint mixture can dry for a few hours. Next, we want to paint our base with a simple color palette of white, brown, light gray, and dark gray. We'll start with our brown, and just like with our other builds, we just want to dab the paint in a camouflage-like pattern. We don't want complete coverage, we just want areas of brown splotchy mess. After the brown is dried, we'll switch to dark gray, always working from our darkest to our lightest colors. Again, using the dabbing technique, we don't want complete coverage, we just want a spotty camo-like pattern. After the dark gray paint dries, we'll repeat the process with our light gray. If you think your rocky base looks like a gray-toned mess, don't panic. That means you're doing the paint job correctly. Now we'll do a white dry brush. If you don't know what that is, I'll put a link to my foundations video on the topic in the top right-hand corner. Next, I'm going to add a layer of Citadel's Newland Oil shade to our rocky base, but any shade or dark wash will do. Normally I put my wash on a palette of some kind, but in this case I'll just add it directly from the bottle. We'll let gravity pull the shade down into their nooks and crannies to improve the appearance of our shadows. Next, we're going to use the Citadel Retribution Armor and Army Painter Kraken Skin paints in order to create the appearance of an aging bronze statue. So I'm going to use this jet dry dishwasher rinse agent to thin out the Kraken Skin green so it flows over the features of our statue. I'll start with the Citadel Retribution Armor to paint the statue, but really any bronze looking paint will do. I started at the base with a fresh brush to make sure that I didn't paint any of the rocks. The white undercoat will help brighten the bronze appearance of our figure. Make sure to get in all the nooks and crannies so none of the undercoat shows through. So you'll notice some tiny spots of our bronze color here on the base. We can actually go back with a little bit of gray in order to hide those. Our last painting stage is to actually patina our statue. Load your brush with some light green and dab some jet dry onto the brush, and then gently mix them together in another tray. Drag your brush against the side of the tray to remove any bubbles that result from the mixing. We start at the top of our figure and let the patina-like mixture flow down into the cracks. Be careful that the mixture isn't too watery, or it will flow over the rocks down below. It will be helpful to do a test area at the top of the model first. It looks like we're finished our statue, but if you feel like you need another layer of patina, make sure that the first layer is completely dry. Lastly, I want to add some Army Painter Swamp and Jungle Turf to our base. I'll use some PVA glue to attach them to my rocky features. So I'll put some PVA glue on the model where the toy figure's base is showing, and with some tweezers add some turf to hide the feature that I don't want showing. After adding a few more different colored turfs around the base, we are finished our statue. This was my take on a more detailed statue for scattered terrain at your game table. I hope there were a few things that caught your attention. I'm curious to hear if anyone has their own patina techniques that they like to use or have tried in the comment section down below. If you like what we're doing here at the GameSmith, please hit that subscribe button, and hitting that thumbs up will keep those nasty gladiators off my back too. Until next time, I'll see you at the table.